Alrighty then, hello my friends, welcome to this ever so slightly different video where I am going to be introducing you to our latest and greatest and all-time bestest program that you have helped me put together. You complete me. I'm just some mad fitness fanatic talking to himself for hours a week. You make this place special. So thank you for all your contributions as to your favorite components from all of our previous series. Allow me to introduce Hero Legend. Because you're the hero of this story. Yes, it's a little self-aggrandizing, but you show up every week and we work hard and we want to feel like we are crafting the narrative of our present and future best selves. Plus, a little bit of a nod to our origin story with that original hero program. Those of you that have been here a long time. I wanted to dig into the details in the program today, so you know what to expect. We get a little bit excited about what's coming, and you can get yourself ready if you do indeed want to embark on this journey with me, because I warn you, it will be more than likely our most challenging one to date, but it's also going to be the most rewarding. At least that's my intent. We have got a 12-week program, 3 sessions a week, upper body, lower body, full body. My favorite way, generally speaking, of splitting up a 3-session week, kind of get the best of both worlds. We capture that all-important twice weekly stimulus volume through all of our muscle groups and joints and movement patterns and so on, whilst being able to dig into the weeds with those upper and lower days. So a really nice best of both worlds. Well, best of both worlds there. Yes, indeedy. We also have an optional, because it was requested on more than one occasion, conditioning workout. So that's going to be workout number 4. I say optional because you might not want to do that. That just might not suit your sensibilities right now, and that's absolutely fine. So I'm not going to deem that mandatory with getting your Hero Legend badge through completing this program. Now, this 12-week program with our 3 sessions a week is going to be broken down into sort of 3 phases of 4 weeks each, where you'll be able to see within each sort of little macro cycle. We're going to be sticking largely to the same exercises, movement patterns, variations within those workouts. So they'll be relatively similar coming in week to week, but it will be on me to remind you of how we're trying to move that needle forward. That might be heavier weights and repetitions and stuff. So we're really getting into the weeds here so you can seriously observe your progression through individual movements, your overall global strength, all these little components coming together. How I would approach generally at client programming within the gym, because we do want to stick to the same things and watch you get better at them instead of throwing new stuff at you every time. So we'll have that phase 1, really building the foundations, and basically just complexity and challenge will go up in some way or another every 4-week cycle. And then within those cycles, obviously stepping things up across those movements. Now let's talk a little bit about the format and the equipment that you are going to need to get the most out of this program. So in order to be as inclusive as possible, but also opening up our options, yes, we're going to need dumbbells, ideally a selection of like light, medium, and heavy, or any combination therein. It's not prohibitive if you don't have that. I want you to get started regardless and just figure it out as we go. But ideally, to get the most out of each exercise selection and format, we will have something on the lighter side for smaller joints and muscle groups, medium and heavy, and so on. So we've got our weight selections. Environmentally speaking, we're just going to be using that, the floor, and our body weight. However, extra tools that I like to think you will have around the house are going to be some form of elevation. Now, more than likely, you'll see me use my bench, but you don't need a bench. And I won't be using it as a bench in order not to prohibit you from joining in. If you are, more than likely using a sofa or a chair. It's going to be somewhere just to elevate our feet, more than likely, maybe hold on to for a bit of support, or just manipulate our body positions in various ways to challenge ourselves in different ways, hit different fibers and tissues from different angles and so on, things like that. So weights, point of elevation, and some form of block, step, old dusty book that you don't mind stepping on and abusing a little bit. You'll see me more than likely use either a weight plate or a yoga block. Now, generally 1 inch to 2 inches, we're going to be using this for things like heel elevated squats, increasing range of motion on various split squat patterns or things like that, or even upper body work. And it's just a really nice versatile tool. But to keep things simple, yeah, just some sort of sturdy wedge that you'll be able to stand on will be ideal. Naturally, in any given workout, I will give you alternatives. On that note, this is going to be a challenging program. Yeah, we're going to have various degrees of complexity, and whilst I will always provide alternatives in the moment, like, hey, if this doesn't feel so good, or like, oh, if you don't have a block or what have you, just try this. But step into this knowing you are challenging yourself. And if you feel like you're just kind of new to working out, stick to some of my other more, I say more friendly programs, but just a bit more chill, get a feel for things. But this is going to be a really awesome achievement, I know, come the end of it, both you and for me. Formatting wise, let's talk about it. Now, for the sake of me largely dying in my editing software, we are going to keep the format the same for our workouts. It also allows you to know what to expect and how to set up your environment so that it's not like loads of curveballs coming at you. So the format's going to be as follows. We have got our prime, which is going to be our mobility, where we're going to be doing 3 movements for 2 sets. So just 2 rounds of 3 movements there, that usual 45 seconds of work, 15-second transition window. We're then going to be moving on to power. All right, we haven't had that power component, all-important component, since, I want to say, infinity. So that's where we're looking to move explosively and quickly, either using our own body weight or dumbbells or a combination therein. Now, this, however, I will provide you with a lower impact option. If we do have instances where we're kind of leaving the ground and having some impact, if that's not suitable for you, I will just cue you to focus on the explosive component but don't leave the ground, for example, things of that nature. We're going to be doing that in an every 90-second format. So we'll perform work, and this is where you can tailor the rep ranges and things to you. We'll perform X amount of work. That might be anywhere from like 3 to ceiling of maybe 8 reps, but generally it's going to be on the lower side, probably 3 to 6 is the Goldilocks zone there. And then we get to rest for the remainder of that 90 minutes. It's important because we want to be as explosive as possible and then recover enough. So these aren't about getting tired. This is about executing on that intent through whatever variation we have on that workout. So we get to basically 3 rounds, do the work, rest for the remainder of that 90 seconds. Now we come into the real sort of meat and middle. First one is going to be foundations. Now I've decided to block this into an EMOM format instead of structured work and rest windows. So it's going to be up to us to do an appropriate amount of work within that minute, because then we only have the remainder of that minute to rest. Typically this will be done for anywhere from 40 to 45 seconds. As you get into the 50s, it's then a bit dicey to transition to the next movement. Now this is done on purpose because we're going to be doing an 8-minute EMOM, 2 movements, largely speaking compound movements that we want to really observe strength development in. So that is essentially done for alternate supersets, right? But the difference here is that I want you to treat this as wave loading. Now, 4 sets of a movement might make you cringe, as we've been doing a lot of 2-set work here, but this is going to, especially with the compound work, where we want to accumulate a little more volume and, should we say, skill proficiency there. If you think about wave 1, those first 2 minutes of, say, if we're doing a press and then a row in our upper body days, we can do a feel out set. Now, wave loading is basically just where we're going to increase the percentage of the intensity, the weight of each set. And it's really nice there because mentally we know we're more than likely going to finish with our hardest set at the end before we move on. So you can just do that first round, a little on the lighter side, feeling things out. Before we come into then second round, maybe bump it up a little bit, and so on before finishing with a real bang. So yes, the rest is on the minimal side for these compound stuff, but the theory is that unless you want to go hard out the gate and you're really confident and experienced with this stuff, you build it up across those 4 sets. So it's not 4 really hardcore working sets. Ideally, we'd more than likely get around 2 that push the needle a little bit there. Then we're going to move into our fortify sequence. This is more what you come to expect, where we're going to be working for a clock. All right, in this instance, I've opened it up to 60 seconds of work. Now, that doesn't mean you have to work for 60 seconds. It just gives us that time. If you're either working with lighter weights, or you have the capability, or certain exercises encourage this, where you can basically work longer. So largely, it's probably going to be 45 to 60 seconds of work. But having that 60-second ceiling allows us to really push it if your weight selection isn't bang on. Because sometimes, a lot of time, that will happen where sometimes getting to that 45 seconds is really tough. Other times you sort of finish and you're like, I had more in the tank. 60 seconds just gives us that little buffer zone if we want to. And then we get a 30-second rest window. These are normally going to be 2 or 3 exercises, either done for 2 to 3 rounds of said EMOM, depending if that's 2 movements for 3 sets. Or if we're working with a single side unilateral leg arm, then we'll just do it for the tour to keep that format nice and simple. So that's going to be our Fortify, your typical accessory work, single joint movements, sort of strength accessory. And then we finish up with finish, if you can come up with a better name. I like foundation, fortify, finish, finesse. Anyway, that's going to be more of your typical isolation movements. Now that'll vary depending on the day, but yes, more single joint movement, more erring towards that isolation. You know, upper body's going to be like your biceps, triceps, maybe some core work, some shoulder isolations, whatever it may be. But that's going to be done in a simple 6-minute EMOM format. Again, so we only have a short rest period before moving on to the next one, which we'll be able to swallow simply because they're not as energy demanding movements for the most part. And that will be done for 2 sets, 3 rounds. So that keeps us all neatly under 40 minutes, all right? Around 40 minutes of work there with my usual ramble at the start. Yes. So that's everything to expect and the equipment that you're going to want to bring to that. So if you can do so and you can commit to that, then let's go. On that note, just around some good housekeeping stuff, now let me talk about this because I always joke, I pretty much joke about this in every video and it's almost, I say embarrassing. I want to make this channel reach escape velocity, as they call it in the creator economy, which is to say it provides me financial reward to the extent that I can carve out actual time for it and make it my job. You know, everyone talks about wanting to be a YouTuber and so on. I adore this. I find it really frustrating because I have to shoehorn it in between my full-time job, being a present father, partner, so on. So that's why it's been very pockmarked, especially of late. I used to have a studio for the first 2 years, and then I gave that up. So now, weather dependent, I'm on the balcony or I'm trying to do it inside. It's been messy. So thank you for bearing with me on that one. But on that note, I will be deploying just about everything in my arsenal I can to try and push things up. I really try and steer away from the comparison and, you know, how you can really get caught up in the end result. I love just showing up here. I love waking up to your messages and saying how much you appreciate the workouts and how thought out, blah, 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 blah. That is reward enough. It certainly is. However, to allow me to keep doing that, I really want to make this a feasible part of my life, and that takes time. If we're really being petty here, there are numerous channels that, you know, for whatever reason, loads of really good reasons, not me just being a little bee, you know, that I don't think are particularly well programmed or effective, but they're kind of bells and whistles and they play the YouTube game, which is what I have largely failed to do so. And, you know, and they're with the hundreds of thousands, millions of subscribers and things like that. It's less about the external number. For me, it's more about enabling me to be able to do this so I can keep providing you, my trusted community, with, frankly, the best tools to build strength, muscle, mobility, a body that feels great, that serves you for life, that gives you confidence. You like the way it looks when you look in the mirror. And we can achieve all that with really artful programming and good information and not misleading you. And all that kind of stuff that goes along like so heavily in the fitness industry, the weight loss industry, the way that obviously the algorithms work. It's just the nature of the beast. So that's just me pre-warning you that I'm going to, I guess, perk up my thumbnails and my titles, probably be shirtless more, doing whatever I can to essentially, you know, get people to click. And then hopefully they realize, this is actually really good stuff. Instead of, you know, perhaps being stubborn and thinking that I'm going to lose my integrity if I play the game, so to speak. So that's just pre-warning you, those of you that have known me from afar for a while, if it looks like I've sold my soul. I just want to succeed in this arena so that we can keep doing this. Because I always want to work out. If this could be my job, I don't always want to work out, by the way, but we know it feels good, so we do that really consistently. And if I could make this part of my life, then it means I could shorten my, you know, full-time coaching hours, which obviously I love, but I get a real creative kick out of doing this stuff and being able to reach more people than just the person I'm seeing in the gym. So that's just giving you some insight into what's going on behind the doors. And I really appreciate all your help and those of you that are sharing the channel and things like that. Really awesome. It really helps, you know, an insecure, neurotic, overachieving creator like me feel like it's not all for nothing. So that's my bit on that. If you happen to be using Instagram, I will be posting up workout cards for this series. So each one just giving a nice overview of the program and maybe, you know, some video content around that. If you want to share on that, super helps me out, and it's a really nice, easy way to communicate as a platform. If you ever want any guidance, those of you that have reached out to me on Instagram hopefully know that I will reply and help you out in any of those sort of little ways that we can to make sure you're getting the most out of your journey. Training is super important. I just think it's fundamental. Otherwise, you're playing life on hard mode, both physically and mentally. And in today's world, it's just crazy, and we're, you know, so sedentary and, you know, surrounded by convenience that you really have to become quite uncommon to most people's eyes, and you have to make time for this. And that's at the beating heart of this, is to provide you guys with everything you need to tick all those boxes, so that you can get the most out of life, ultimately. I've often felt really insecure and defensive about physical fitness because it looks like a vain pursuit. And it starts off, hey, I wanted to be more attractive when I was a teenager, and I was bullied a lot and really tall and skinny. I wanted to build some muscle. I thought that would make me happy and so on. But it's the journey once you get on. And by the way, ticking off those, you know, those goals, aesthetic or otherwise, feels good. It's awesome. It builds confidence. But it's more the experience of showing up regularly and showing yourself that you can do hard things, even when you're more than likely tired and stressed and there's other things you'd fill that time with. You've never regretted a session. So I want to continue that feedback loop. I want to make it louder, and I want to make you enjoy the process, and obviously trust that you are getting great information, programming, resources. Aha! Cool! Yes, let's get to it. My hero legends.